It was a regular day. I came to work.
I was on a truck, and we were in an area in Detroit.
I was working at Channel 25, which is the NBC affiliate in Clio.
I was a sophomore in college.
I was a freshman in college.
I was in high school. I was actually in here.
I was a sophomore in high school.
I was actually in the 8th grade during 9/11.
I was in 7th grade.
I was in the 1st grade.
But I remember that day so vividly. It was a pretty warm day.
We were getting ready to do our morning show cut-in, and it was about 8:45, and we were in the studio, and we were all set up ready to go, and there was breaking news that was done by the network station.
It's called Hughes. We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center, where I understand, do we have it? No, we do not.
As Matt just mentioned, we have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has
And so we were waiting for our time to go on, and we realized that we weren't actually going to be able to go on air because a plane had crashed into one of the World Trade Centers.
My husband at the time had called me and said something about they can't get a hold of my brother. And I said, what are you talking about? He was like, somebody flew a plane into the World Trade Center.
Someone got news of, I don't remember if it was first the planes in New York, and so we were like, what happened? And people were like then pulling it up on their TVs because we had TVs in the rooms then.
We didn't know what was going on. We thought it was an accident.
A couple minutes later, he calls me back and said they just flew one into the second tower.
So we were watching the coverage, and as we were watching the coverage of the plane crash, we saw the second plane crash into the second Trade Center.
I think at that point realized like we're under attack. That like when the first tower was hit, we didn't know like if maybe a plane had just wrecked, you know, like they weren't using their navigation, the plane wrecked, had an accident, whatever. But when the second one happened, we were like, no, that's not normal. Like something's going on.
And we knew, all of us knew at that moment that we were under some kind of attack, and we didn't know what.
Walking by each room, had the door open, and you walk by the first room and they had the news on, and it didn't really hit me yet what had happened, and then walked by the next room. By the time I got about 3 or 4 classrooms down the hallway, kind of realized what had happened.
A professor had a TV on, and it was showing one of the planes hitting the towers in the World Trade Center.
Here I have this knowledge that I'm not even sure the rest of the staff has, only because my husband had called me to tell me, and like my kids are sitting here coloring a poster. So it was a very weird feeling as an adult. Like, what do I do? I think we're being attacked, and I'm responsible for all of you. I'm like your school mom at that time, so we didn't know what to do.
It kind of came out with an announcement that, that an airplane had hit the World Trade Center.
Somebody came on the PA and said that a plane hit the buildings. I remember some chatter about why are they telling us this?
We was just watching buildings get hit by airplanes and not understanding exactly what was going on.
And I didn't fully understand what was going on since I was in middle school and I didn't watch the news at that time.
We were all doing story time in the morning, and I remember everything kind of changed and went very serious, very fast.
I went to my parents' house because they lived not too far from where I was working. And when I got to my parents' house, we were watching the news, and when we saw the trade centers collapse, all of the firemen and policemen who had went in there to try and rescue the people were still in there when it came down.
Kind of like a weird silence everywhere from people just trying to figure out what was kind of going on.
We actually had some threats of Detroit getting hit by planes as well, but thank God never happened. But
my general foreman, and he pulled up, and we thought he was going to question what we were doing, or because usually they didn't come out. And so my foreman that was on the truck with me, he went out to see what the general foreman wanted, and he came back and he goes, stop working. And we turned on the news broadcast, and we sat there and we listened to it, which was kind of different than seeing it on TV. But we listened to the broadcast until about 3 o'clock in just horror. And I drove home kind of like numb, you know, just not even, you know, realizing the extent of it because I hadn't seen any of it yet.
It was a very bad tragedy.
Really real, and like people for a few weeks were scared.
Life changed a lot after 9/11.
I remember overnight we had people monitoring, you know, the entrances to the schools. People had to sign in with ID. That had not really been a thing before that.
Just remember quietness, like that evening and then the following day. You know, when it's a tragedy, a lot of people were killed and everyone was just really quiet. Everything was quiet and everyone was just glued to the TV.
This event doesn't really define us. It kind of changed the way we did things, and it brought together a whole bunch of people.
Even right after those attacks, it was one of the few times that everyone sort of came together as a nation. There was a lot of American pride at that time. It didn't really matter what your political affiliation was, how old you were, your race, your nationality, your religion. It didn't really matter. It was more about coming together as a country and like protecting each other. And that continued really in the years that followed.